I'm Keegan,
I'm Nick.
and this is the Shivers Report, where you get the most up-to-date real estate information,
In the world!
and mainly in the Pacific Northwest. What are some of your biggest predictions for 2026 and what it's going to hold?
Number one, we will not see a real estate value crash. That's my first prediction. It's really good to get clicks, but the reality is the data, the economics it's not there. We don't have enough housing. Yes, there we've seen maybe what you could call a crash in some of like Florida, but it's still 7%, 8%. The highest has been in Austin, where you might have seen 10% depreciation. But again, compared to 2020, it's still 20% up. So they still have a long ways to go before you see that. So I don't believe that we'll see a housing value crash in 2026. How about you? What's one of your predictions?
I think one of the predictions that I'm looking at is just to see where we actually end up with interest rates.
Mhm.
Once Trump appoints his new Fed chair,
Yep.
how big of an adjustment that's going to be versus the noise that it's going to cause.
Yeah.
So are we going to see that adjustment once that person is appointed beforehand, before he even gets in there, if he starts talking news articles, all that stuff,
Mhm.
and if the market takes that into account?
Yep.
Or if once they get in, if we actually start seeing those major adjustments along with the noise that comes with the news and the articles and all that stuff?
You're starting to sound like a politician because I asked you the question, what's your prediction? You didn't give me one. What is your prediction?
Um, I think we see high fives next year in the interest rates. I
Okay.
think we see
Okay.
that. And we see a slight tick up on transactions. We see a slight tick up on the affordability side because people will be able to stretch their dollar a little bit farther. But I don't think we see any major adjustments with the amount of transactions. A little bit in the positive, but also I don't think we see anything crazy on the pricing side as well. I don't think we see any crashes. I don't think we see any major booms unless we get portable mortgages and 50-year mortgages.
Yeah.
I do think that would cause a stir in the industry. But other than that, I don't think we're going to see anything massive.
Yeah. Another prediction that I will make, I believe that we will see a big drop in the amount of agents out there. The reality is our industry it has a low level of entry, and a lot of people got in the business. And I think people are catching on that this is the biggest asset they'll ever transact, and they need a true professional to work their thing. And someone that's doing it part time just shouldn't be handling a $500,000 asset. So I believe that that's going to happen. I'm not 100% sure if I think we will get. It wouldn't surprise me if we got to the high fives. I believe we will get to six. I believe we'll see low single digit transaction growth. I believe that our values will be flat to anywhere 1% below in depreciation to 1% above. I think the biggest issue that we have in the Pacific Northwest is migration out of high net worth income earners. I think that could have a big effect. We know for a fact it's had a big effect on commercial real estate. Not so much residential real estate. Yes, in certain areas like the Pearl District, certain areas in downtown Seattle. I think that could be a factor that we could see in the big cities of Pacific Northwest, where we could see more depreciation than we saw in 2025. I
Mm.
think that's a big deal. That could be one of those black swan things that you're not really necessarily expecting. We could see something a little bit different than just 1 to 2% depreciation.
Are you thinking clear cut migration out of Oregon, or are you in Washington in the Pacific Northwest? Or are you thinking in the big cities out to maybe suburbs,
Well, we
farther out
know
rural
for a fact
areas?
but overall, and if you look at Oregon and Washington, even though it says that their migration is slightly above, if you look at domestic migration in both areas, especially the Portland Metro, Seattle Metro, domestic migration is negative, meaning it's international migration, And that's legal migration,
Mhm.
but it's international, and especially in Seattle, it was tech. Portland, the same thing. Portland, a lot of medical and stuff like that. So um, the reality is, historically, that's not good for tax base. We're already starting to see a shortfall in the Seattle Metro, Portland Metro, and shortfall for tax base,
Mhm.
and that could be a problem down the road.
Yeah. Who do you think benefits most in 2026? Buyers, sellers, or investors?
Great question. I think buyers will continue to have a little bit of an upper hand.
Mhm.
I do believe there'll be a little bit more stress in the market. So on the investment side, I think there'll be some more opportunities on that end, because specifically labor market is getting a little softer than it has been.
Mhm, mhm. Where do you think investors stand in that?
Yeah, I think there's just gonna be more opportunities for investors.
Yeah.
The reality is less than 2% of homes are bought by investors in the Pacific Northwest. So the big boogeyman that I mean, I've seen it out in social media, that it's because investors, that's why home values are so high. That's just not true.
If you like this video, like, subscribe, and for any real estate information in the Pacific Northwest, we got you covered.